The only real God is the one that you believe in. Start looking for the God in others. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And here we are, episode 121.
121.
What is our topic?
This is the animal and human connection.
Nice.
Yes.
We like the animals,
I
friends.
say this as I'm petting our black lab Sabbath because he's looking like he wants to start whining.
No.
Not right now, Sab.
Cool. Well, before we, and while we pet Sabbath, and before we hop into this one, do you got anything you want to share from last week?
I do. This last week has been kind of a crazy week for a lot of our listeners. And so I just wanted to give a couple of shout outs to a few of our listeners that I know have had a rough week, have been through a lot. One of my closest friends lost her cat, Katniss, this week.
I know.
And so we wanted to send our love out to Hannah and Katniss. And you know what's weird about this story is that she adopted Katniss 10 years to the day before she passed.
That's wild.
She got her on August 10th and she passed on August 10th. Wow. And she passed on her own. She didn't put her down. So, yeah, that was kind of wild, and very unexpected. So wanted to give our love to Hannah for that.
Send in the hugs.
Yes. And then another one of our close friends, Chelsea, her and her husband had their second child,
Yay.
baby Owen. He is another interesting synchronicity here. So her first boy, Hunter, he was supposed to be born on, I believe it was supposed to be born on the 2nd of November, and they decided to induce on the 9th of November, so a week late, right?
Wow.
Well, this one was due on the 2nd, and they induced on the 9th of August.
Wow.
So again, with the 2s and 9s, different, synchronicities here, you have to wonder why these things happen on these dates,
It's funny. Marina, my sister's firstborn was a girl. She has 2 and I only have 1. But her firstborn was a girl.
Yep.
And my firstborn was a girl.
Yeah.
And they were both born on the same day.
Yeah.
But a year apart. Mm-hmm. But just the irony of that was like, whoa.
There's a lot in numbers that we don't even understand, But these are a couple of numbers here this week that I was just like, whoa. And then we have a listener, Kathy.
Congratulations
congratulations to Chelsea and Tyler and baby Owen and Hunter.
Forgot to say that, sorry.
And then we have a listener who lost her father this week, Kathy, and so I wanted to, reach out to her as well.
Right.
So it's been a crazy week. Like, I think that you've heard me say more this week that the energy has been really kind of, tough on me. Mm. I don't know what it is, but to anybody that had a rough week or, we are feeling it with you. So hopefully this coming week will be better.
I don't know, maybe Mercury's and Gatorade or something.
Maybe. You never know. I don't know. Because even with Chelsea, her birth was really rough. So, it's a blessing that he's here, but the process was really rough.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just been a week. So I wanted to acknowledge that and reach out to some of these people. So,
well, I'm glad that went well.
Yeah, I did too. And then let's see what else. So we have our merch now that we are displaying on the website.
Nice.
And you can get our merch. Okay, there's a couple of different ways. So first of all, we take our questions every week, right? So if you would like to ask us a question, if we use your question on the show, then we will send you free merch.
Yeah.
And the stuff that we have is like stickers and buttons and keychains and coasters, magnets. So I've been putting just a little packet together for everybody. But you can also go on redbubble.com and search, I think it's just Spiritual Jones that you search, and you can buy whatever you want with our merch. Like I have sweatshirts and tote bags and stuff, and we have masks and all that. So anything that you want, you can find on Redbubble. So, yay.
Cool.
And then every week we do the 2 questions. Let me bring those up. So we're going to do these 2 that are very similar. So I'm going to read both the questions because they kind of both are going to have similar answers. So it's from Bob and Kim. Bob said, I had a dream about my late wife, and it was so real, I thought when I woke up that she would be there. Does that mean it was a visitation? And then Kim said, so I was in between sleeping and awake, and I heard the bathroom door open and opened my eyes expecting to see Gabe, that's her boyfriend, but it was my dad who passed away in 2018. It startled me so bad, but I immediately regretted being scared. Was this a visit from my dad? So in both of these instances, absolutely, I would say that these are visits.
Yeah.
Anytime, like... Okay, in a dream, let's talk about a little bit between the differences of a visit and a real dream or a nightmare. I used to get a lot of nightmares about my mom after she passed, and you can tell the difference. A visit is very uplifting. It's bright. It's beautiful. It's almost like what Bob was saying. It feels so real that you wake up and you just expect the person to be there, that you can call them. You can feel them in that dream. A regular dream that is not a visit will be negative. Might not always be negative, but that will definitely be a difference. Any negativity you won't get in a visit.
That's like your subconscious more, like stress and things like that.
Yes, I used to have these recurring dreams that my mom was either in the witness protection program and we sold all of her stuff and then she came back, or we buried her alive. I had those like rotating. Those were not my mom coming to me and telling me those, like that wasn't her. Right. I know the differences, They'll be very, very vivid. Now with Kim, that's really cool to see, kind of like an apparition, I guess, would be. I've never actually seen my mom like appear in front of me, but I've had like silhouettes that I'm like, whoa, or just times where it's like I just know it's her, or I'm expecting, you to walk around the corner and it's just a very heavy spirit feeling, things like that. I absolutely would take all of those as visits,
I definitely agree that they were. I don't know if I want to use the word visit. And this is why I would say this, is because dreaming is a state of consciousness.
Yeah.
Okay, so our bodies, it's kind of like when you turn off a computer. And as far as you know, the computer's off. But the computer will still update and do things while it's quote unquote sleeping.
Right, sure.
So it's in a different state while it's sleeping. Just like when we go to sleep, I tend to believe that when we're awake in this physical world, we are bound to the 3D, this 4D world.
Right, totally. Okay?
We're bound to it. When we go to sleep, that's when like all bets are off. It's like now you're free to roam.
Right.
Because the other side itself is a different state of consciousness. Right. It's not like a 4D world like this. So I believe, let's say, for instance, Bob has a dream. I believe that he actually goes to the other side while he's sleeping.
Right.
And he's able to see his wife.
He's with her. Yeah, that's why it feels so real.
So something maybe jars you awake. Oh, I got to go to the bathroom. Or I hear a dog barking in the yard next door. And so you start to wake up maybe quicker than normal. Or it was just such a great visit or time with this person that you remember it that clear.
Yeah.
With Kim, I feel like you're coming out of this, you're transferring this state of consciousness from dream state to waking up, where you're kind of still partly there and you're still partly here.
Right.
So, and essentially that's the dimension of the other side is really not like, 100,000 miles away.
No, it's not. No.
It's here.
Yeah, it's here.
It's just on a different dimension.
Yeah.
So it's all relative, meaning you are communicating with these people.
Right, for sure.
You are seeing them. It's more of your consciousness being able to remember that or be aware of that. And I don't know necessarily why that happens, why sometimes we remember and why sometimes we don't.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't either. But I will give the advice that I tell people, like, they wonder, why am I not dreaming about my loved one? Well, one of the reasons is it's our brain. Like, I don't exactly remember, how it's set up, but there's different compartments in our brain. And there's one compartment that if it wakes up last, we won't remember our dreams. And I can't remember what causes it to wake up last. But one of the things that I've found that if I want to remember a dream or, I'm hoping somebody will visit or whatever, is I'll say before I go to sleep, I'll set the intention, please let me remember my dreams. And this is what I tell my clients. Please let me remember my dreams tonight. And you know what? It usually works. It does. And if you ask specifically for a visit, like I get a lot of people that say, my animals don't come to visit me in my dreams and I'd like them to. Just ask for it. It's as simple as that. Just ask for them to visit and ask to remember. And a lot of times, 9 out of 10 times, I would say people come back to me and say, you won't believe how quickly that worked. So, there's all kinds of different types. Like, I do call them visits because I think it's just, like, easier maybe for people to understand. But, like, there's all types of these visits, too. So they all feel different. But, like, one of the most vivid ones I remember having was the one and only time that I can actually remember my dad visiting me in a dream like this. Right. And he was sitting at a table and he stood up from it and he was like 20 feet tall, but it wasn't scary. And he was like bright white, just beautiful, and it was like, whoa. And I just knew it was him. And it was one of the crazy experiences that I woke up and I was like, I don't even remember what my dad's energy feels like because it's been so long, but now I do,
That's cool.
Yeah.
I guess visiting is a good term. I think I meant more like, is it really them visiting us?
Right. Or we visiting them.
And I feel like because we're bound here in our waking hours, I feel like it's more like us visiting them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because we're not bound to that once we're sleeping. Our subconscious is free.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good point. So I hope that answered those questions for you, Bob and Kim.
Yeah.
And I will get your merch out to you tomorrow.
Thanks for your participation.
Yes. And that reminds me too that if you have asked questions before and I didn't reach out to you to get your address to mail you your merch, please let me know because there might be a few that I've missed. So, and that is all that I have for you from last week.
Very nice.
Yay.
Okay, then episode 121, the animal and human connection.
I get so excited about these animal episodes.
Yes. I think the listeners do too, actually.
Absolutely. This one's a little bit different. This one we're going to talk more about the relationship with animals. Like, we've been on this kind of series about relationships. Relationships with children and parents and our spouses. But what about animals? What about those relationships? Why do we have those relationships? So this episode, we're going to celebrate the relationship between animals and humans.
Cool.
Animals, wild and domestic, are spiritual beings. They love and accept us unconditionally. And believe it or not, they are put here to help us learn certain lessons. They really are. If we let them, animals of all kinds can be spiritual teachers and guides to us.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. Animals are always communicating with us. And this is a really good point. And as an animal communicator, I try and communicate with my animals on their level as much as I can, because most often they don't understand what we are saying that's coming out of our mouth. You know what I mean? So we may misinterpret certain behaviors, or they may misinterpret things with us. So we have to learn how to better communicate with our animals to make that bond stronger, and again, like I said, they are here to help us on this spiritual journey. So they will be our teachers and our healers if we let them. Something very strange that's happened to me over the last couple of years that I was told was going to happen is that I'm working on becoming a healer. And Zuma is the number one creature that I practice my healing on. When he has the hiccups, when he has any kind of ailment, not that I don't do it with Sabbath, but Zuma's way more open to it, And so I have learned that he's teaching me how to be a healer. Like, I'm helping him, but he's also teaching me. And I can feel it when I'm getting it right with him and when I'm not. And it's pretty amazing. Animals are absolutely amazing.
Cool.
So we're going to talk about all kinds of animals, but let's talk about domestic animals like dogs, cats, and birds. Okay.
All right.
And so one way I feel we go wrong with our pets is we treat them like they are animals instead of equals. And I know that a lot of people might disagree with me on this and say, well, they are animals. They're not equals. Okay. Well, let's look at them as our children instead of an equal adult.
Right.
Because what gives us the right to say that these amazing creatures don't deserve the same amount of respect that we do?
Right.
One of the things that I think happens with people is that they think this is a creature that doesn't speak English, that can't talk, it can't verbalize to people what's wrong with it, so it must not be intelligent. Yeah. But these animals, they're their own souls. Right. They're intelligent, spiritual beings that deserve respect.
And let's face it, as far as we know, in the history of the world, animals were here before humans.
Right.
So just because they can't speak or talk our language, they have as much right to be here as we do, as they were here first.
Right. You had asked me earlier today a little bit about what this episode was about, more what it was about. And you had asked me, is this about our relationship, building a better relationship with our pets, and can that help us with humans? And that is absolutely where I think that animals can teach us, and we'll go into that later, is that they can teach us how to have better human relationships.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping you were going to say that, because I feel like, and it kind of goes to the a question that's been posed to us before about whether when we reincarnate, can we come back as animals, or can we come back as, do we have a choice?
Right.
And I think the truth is, for me, honestly, is no. Humans will always be humans.
Yes.
And animals will always be animals. And there's a reason why. When you see an animal, you feel a much different energy than you do when you see another human being.
Yes.
You know you're dealing with a different level of intelligence and ability to communicate. But regardless, there's a different energy.
Right, absolutely.
There's something magical. There's something that makes you feel in awe. There might be something a little bit scary about it, because you don't know if they're mean or not mean or whatever it is. But I definitely think that is the biggest reason or sign for me to know that that's why animals are here.
Yes.
Because we look at it and we go, oh my God, I love it when squeeze it, but we don't do that to each other. Right.
That's absolutely right. There's a lot of things that we don't do with other people that we do with our pets, that if we could learn to do with humans, we would be much better off.
Like you. I mean, you could see any dog, it doesn't matter if it's big, small, ugly, pretty, whatever.
Kiss it right on the mouth first time I meet it.
Yeah, you're just immediately like, oh my God, like, you know what I mean? You're no judgment.
No, none at all. And it's funny because like I catch myself all the time and I compare it to like when men see, a pretty girl and they like catcall her on the street, right? Okay, that's how I am every time I see a dog. I'm like, ooh, a dog, every single time. Totally. And I feel like sometimes people look at me like, why is she looking at me? I promise you, I'm looking at your dog. It's just the way that I am. I love animals because they are so just loving creatures, But on that subject, because we did get asked that question, can animals be humans and humans be animals in different lives? And I agree with you that I do not feel like we share the same energy. I feel like animals have their own kind of energy and that they repeatedly come back to us in these lives in different forms. But as far as the level of respect and where they are in heaven, I feel that they do have the same level. Their soul gets the same level of respect.
Oh, yes.
So it's not the same kind of energy. Like, I'll never be a dog and you'll never be a cat. And Zuma and Sabbath will never be human. Right. But we all are respected on the same level on the other side, which is why we should respect each other on the same level here. And I'm not just talking about domestic animals.
No, I think that goes for plants and trees and all those things, because this is what we're kind of saying is that we are one.
Yes, that's
we are
exactly
one
right.
world, and so everything that exists in this world is our Creator's creation.
Right.
So why would any of it be of greater or lesser value?
Right.
It's recognizing those energies, just like we can learn as much from plants and things like this that we can from animals. We can't communicate with them, but they can communicate with us.
Yes.
And we can communicate with them in the sense that we can read what they're telling us.
Yes. You know, that's a very good point. And when it comes to plants and trees and everything else, these are all living creatures. They're just different from us. And just because they don't talk doesn't mean that they don't feel things. We don't know what they feel. But I'll tell you that since I started on this spiritual journey, I've changed a lot in the way that I respect these things a lot more. Like, I used to be terrified of bugs and stuff like that, and I respect them so much more now because I realize they're all here for a purpose, you know? And I don't know if that tree has feelings. I don't know if it hurts when it doesn't have water. I have no clue because I'm not that tree. Right. So I'm going to respect it because it might. You know, they've done a lot of tests like on plants and stuff about the way you speak to plants. And if you speak negatively, these plants die. If you speak positively to them, they grow. So I believe that there is something there. There absolutely is something there, and that we need to treat all animals and creatures and nature with respect. Absolutely. So I asked our listeners, do you feel like you have a stronger bond in general with people or with animals? And I didn't mean like husbands, children. I meant like in general. Do you prefer the company of people or human or animals? And 90% said animals. 10% said both. 0% said people. Alicia said animals by far. And you know what it is? And I'll tell you, because I'm the same way. And I work with people, and I love working with people, and I love helping them. But at the end of the day, my dogs are not judging me. Right. They're not upset with me that thinking I've done something wrong. They are just here to love me. And so why wouldn't I pick to be in the company of animals over humans that might make me feel bad about myself?
I totally agree with you. I think that's probably the two most important things that we can learn from animals and our relationships with them is unconditional love and coexistence.
Yes. I actually have a list here of things animals can help us learn.
Nice.
So the first one is acceptance. And here's a good example, because a lot of these are very similar, but let me explain what I mean by acceptance. Okay? That dog that just had puppies isn't worried about if her stomach is going to be flat after her puppies are not milking anymore. Okay? She's not worried about it. That's because she's accepting herself as it is. That is another thing that we can learn. In animals, they can see themselves in the mirror. Like Zuma goes up and he looks at himself in the mirror. Do you think he's sitting there going, damn, I am ugly, or, oh, I'm so cute. Right. No, he's absolutely not. He's going, what? What? I look like that? But he's not, he's accepting himself. He's not judging himself.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's totally different.
Sure.
They are also more content than we are. Like, we get sometimes where we'll be sitting around and, like right now, okay, they have no clue what we're doing. I tell them, we're working, whatever, behave, but they have no clue. But they are 100% content in this room with the door closed with us right now. We could learn that from them too, that sometimes it's just okay to just be like, okay,
just be,
yeah. This kind of goes with acceptance, but also being non-judgmental. It doesn't matter what you do. They still love you the same. No matter what you look like, how you dress, how silly you act. This is one of the things that we seem to forget about animals, especially our pets, is that they've seen it all. They've seen it all. This morning, these two saw me dancing to Walk Like an Egyptian, okay? And they just stare at me like I've lost my mind. But I know they're not judging me. They're probably wondering, what is she doing? But they don't love me any less. They don't make fun of me. They don't say anything to you like, guess what I saw Mom doing earlier, If I have a great big hole in my pants, they're not going, oh, look, there's your butt. Right. They just accept and they don't judge.
And sadly enough... even if you abuse them,
yes,
they still love you.
Yes.
And this is also a terrible example, but it's probably one of the most profound, is that they will take it and still love you and be loyal to you.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying that that's what people should go out and do, but it's a true example of true unconditional love.
Right, absolutely. Yep. Animals can also teach us to be more adaptable. as pet owners, we usually worry about our pets being comfortable with change. Like, I remember when we moved over to this house, I was really nervous. How are they going to handle the change? It's a lot more room. I figured that they would enjoy it more, but it's a totally different place. Both of these dogs had only known the other house their whole life. So I was very worried about how they were going to be when they came over here. And you know what? It didn't matter. They were so happy to just be with us. It was like with Sabbath, I think it took a little bit more adjusting, but they were just totally content to be with us. It wasn't that big of a deal, you know. Our friend Hannah that just lost her cat, one of the things that she was kind of upset about was that she took this cat everywhere with her and feels like maybe she pushed the cat to like travel and go on airplanes and stuff. But you know what? Communicating with Katniss, she loved it because she was with her person. And so none of it mattered. She just went with it. And I'm trying to teach myself that too, that like, just when I'm with you or I'm home, you know, this is what makes me comfortable, and like, just relax.
Right.
You know, because that's what's important, is that you are, whatever it is that you're doing, it might be change or whatever, but you're with the person, the people, the animals that you love. And so at that, just go with it.
Yeah, it's the most comfortable place to be.
Yeah, exactly. Let me get to my next page. You had mentioned this one, unconditional love. It doesn't matter to your pet how grand your house is, what brand of clothes you're wearing, your job title, anything. It doesn't even matter sometimes how you treat them, which does make me sad.
Yeah.
But they love you unconditionally. Absolutely. And we can learn a lot from that.
Yeah, they don't have the, you know, I don't know if it's they don't have the ability, but they choose, if they do, they choose not to hold a resentment against you. I mean, I don't think that they forget, oh, you know, if there's somebody abusing their animal, that the animal doesn't remember that you hit him the day before.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? They still remember that.
Yeah.
But they're still loving you just like they loved you before you hit them.
Yeah.
And so there's no need to do that.
No.
You know, if you're training them properly is kind of according to the rules of your home.
Right.
There is no need to ever have to do that.
No, there isn't. Absolutely. Never. I have a hard time even talking about it.
Yeah.
Something else we can learn from them is loyalty. It feels so good to have someone accept you for who you are and love you no matter what. They forgive and forget when you've gone off track with them, with yourself, whatever. They're not going to leave you. I hate it when people say when their animals are missing, my dog, my cat ran away. They did not run away.
No.
You know, unless you're mistreating them, that's different.
Yeah.
But if you're a good home, they didn't run away. Something probably caught their attention and they just got off track. Because animals are loyal. And that's something that, like, always gets me with people, like, that are thinking about, you know, giving their dogs away or whatever. And it's like, these animals don't care what you're going through. They want to be with you. If you have to move to an apartment, like I had to move my two labs, Tahoe and Sequoia, into an apartment. And that was very hard on them, but they were with me. And so it really didn't matter. They adjusted very well, you know, because they're loyal creatures. They just want to be with who they love. And really, honestly, one of the biggest things is intuition over intellect. Animals are very, very good at using their intuition. We can see this in cases where, Zoom is not a great example, but if Sabbath doesn't like somebody, I would never trust them. I wouldn't trust him because he loves everybody. And so if he's barking, freaking out at somebody when they come close to him to try and pet him, then I know that there's something there. There's a reason why. You know, they're very good judges of character.
Oh, yeah.
They also sense things like earthquakes. So do I. So I understand how their intuition kind of picks that up, you know. But animals, they use their intuition and they use telepathy. And telepathy, I mean, if humans could use telepathy, that would be amazing. We could learn that from them too. But that's,
I think the animals just have a greater understanding or ability to feel the frequencies.
Right.
You know,
yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's proven even in their hearing, that they can hear like a way higher level of frequency than we're able to hear. Well, frequencies aren't necessarily always sound.
That's very true.
You know, a lot of it is sound, but I think there's different wavelengths and things that energy kind of acts like this as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they could pick up on all that. Plus here,
Yeah. I'm not really sure. Like, when we've had earthquakes, I've always been the one to detect them while these two sleep. So I don't really know,
You're fired.
Right. I don't really know what they show, but when I detect them, I cry for no reason and I get really nervous. And so I guess dogs probably would show that, like, nervous, like, pacing would be
I would think.
Yeah, what I would think. But my next list, ways to improve your relationship with your animals. I think this is very important. And we've talked about a couple of things, but the first one is look at them all as equals, not just dogs, cats, your domestic animals, but I'm also talking about wild animals, even like things like spiders, and I hate to say mosquitoes. I mean, I'll kill a mosquito if it's on me. Don't think I won't. But they all have a purpose. I was stung by a bee a couple of weeks ago trying to save its life, and I like totally took it personal. It was like, whoa, wait a minute. Hey, why'd you do that? I'm just trying to save you.
Now you went and killed yourself.
Exactly. But I mean, I was kind of treating that bee like an equal. I was trying to save it. I was trying to help it, just like I would if I saw a person stuck in jelly upside down. My bad that I touched it and it went, oh, look, a finger. But this is things that through my spiritual awakening, I've really come to see is that all of these creatures should be treated like equals. Yeah. We live in their territory, we need to respect them. Now they come in my house, that might be different. But even at that, I've learned to take the spiders outside. Right. That's their zone. Go outside.
But I mean, we're building homes in a natural world.
Right.
So it's, if you leave a home unclean, unattended, well, the wild will take over.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's really Mother Nature's world. We're just living in it.
Yeah.
And if we decide to build buildings and structures, well, that comes with it. Spiders and mice and what have you. There's things that obviously terrify me. But yeah, it's like a greater understanding of feeling connected to it all.
I think this is one of the things that makes us human is that and why aliens want nothing to do with us is because when we don't understand something, we have a tendency to kill it or hurt it. I'm not going to say who it was, but we had somebody that was over and Marina spotted it was a praying mantis and it was down on the table and Marina's like, look, a praying mantis. And the person that was over went, oh, I killed those. And I was like, don't you even ever think about it. And I went and I picked it up and I took it over to the rose bushes so I could eat the aphids. Why? Right. They're beautiful creatures. They may kill their mates, but that's their own problem. Right. They're not going to kill me. Right. Those can kill...
kill murder hornets.
Thank you. So, yeah, don't ever kill. Yeah. Just let it be. If it's going to hurt you, just get out of its territory, But we need to understand all creatures and understand that, in some ways we are equal.
Yep.
Also, try to see life from your pet's point of view. People don't do this. They think because, again, it's a creature that doesn't speak English, that it doesn't have a point of view.
Right.
But it does. They love us and they want to be with us and they crave our attention and there's certain things that they need. So if we can look a little bit from their point of view, then that will help definitely to build stronger bonds with our pets.
Yeah, they have emotion. They don't shed tears. They have a different body chemistry and makeup, but they have emotion.
Right.
And they have, like you said, wants and needs, desires at a particular moment. And you can help them.
Right.
And they're very simple. Usually their desires is like, I just want to play. I just want to go for a walk or I need some water.
Absolutely.
Kind of, they're not real complicated, requests.
I took Sabbath to the vet earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, doesn't matter. And the vet was just in shock with how well he communicates with his eyes. And like, he'll look at things and then look at you, tell you what you need. Zuma's really good at that too, but she was totally tripping on it. Yeah. She was like, he is telling me exactly what he wants with his eyes. Well, yeah. And I explained to her why. I'm like, it's because it's my job. My dogs are kind of trained to be that way. They are very good at telling us what they need. And you can absolutely train them for that. One of the things that I've done, Sabbath isn't so much like this, but Zuma, when he wants something, he'll like he wants us to follow him. So he'll like stop and stand there and he'll guide you to exactly what he wants. So if your animals are like showing you follow me, follow them. A lot of times they will take you to exactly what they want, but they have no way of communicating with you. This was the next one on my list, is to realize that they speak a different language, but they're not dumb.
No,
not at all. They just don't know how to speak English, just like we don't know how to speak their language. And just like how it's frustrating for us that they don't speak English, it's frustrating for them that we don't speak their language.
Right.
So if we could learn a little bit, even, most people are not going to learn to telepathically communicate with their animals, and that's okay. But when you see something that's different or wrong, pay attention to it. See what's going on. Just like a baby. Babies are very similar because they also cannot communicate with you. You have to, by process of elimination, determine what is wrong with this baby. And a lot of times it's the same way with dogs. Sabbath has the same exact whine for everything that he wants. And so a lot of times it's process of elimination because he's not the best communicator, as far as his words go. So he'll just sit there and, I need wine. What is it that you want? Give it to me. I want to give it. What? And then you have to figure it out. Process of elimination. You've eaten, you've been outside. Oh, is there a bone? Is there a toy? What is it? And a lot of times it'll be like there's a toy buried somewhere or whatever, Right. But you just have to pay attention to what they're doing, their signals, and realize that they're not just going to walk up to you and go, I don't feel well. My toy's under the bed or whatever.
Right.
They can't do that. Another way to improve our relationship with animals is to spend more quality time with them. Like sitting here in this room with our dogs, this is not quality time. They're asleep. So quality time is doing the things that they like. You play tuggy with Zoom every night. Sabbath likes to be chased around the house with his squeaky toy. Whatever it is that makes them happy. I used to take Sabbath all the time. When Zuma would go to daycare, I would take Sabbath to the park that he liked. It was just our quality time.
Right.
But once you learn to bond with this creature on a different level, then you see things differently too. It's totally different, Right. And you can bond with them, sure, sitting on the couch. But if you actually have like quality time and experiences together, it makes it so much more beautiful, really. Stop ignoring their signs of discomfort. If you have a dog that's lick all the time, what are they licking? Why are they licking it? I went to do this bird groom a couple of years back, and the lady had 2 boxers, and they were behind a baby gate so that they were like locked in the hallway. Okay. And these dogs, one of them was so bright red and was like scratching itself while I was there. And she's like, that dog, all it does is scratch. I'm like, yeah. And I was looking, covered in rashes. I'm like, the dog's covered in rashes. Oh yeah, maybe I should give him some Benadryl or something. Maybe you should take the dog to the vet. What is wrong with you? Why let animals suffer? If you see that there's something is wrong, you got to do something about it. Don't just ignore it. You can't always treat everything just like with people, you're going to have this, that, and the other. But I think a lot of people tend to put off the signs, like they might not even notice that their animal's sick because, again, their animal's not coming up to them and going, guess what, I don't feel good.
Yeah.
So any change in their food intake, water intake, the amount they're sleeping, anything that's abnormal.
Yeah, like their energy.
You need to look at those and say, what am I not being told from this dog or cat or whatever it is? Birds and some other creatures are really good at covering up illness. So this is a point where if you're bonded with this creature, you should be able to see even the slightest differences in them.
Yeah.
We talked about this one a little bit, but that's connect with nature. A lot of times connecting with nature, going out and experiencing what the trees have to offer, and it makes you think, whoa, we are all one. Like, this is bigger than me.
Right.
If you get to really understand and respect nature.
I think if you can especially be with, particularly your own domesticated animals outside, because they still are a wild animal.
Right.
They're just been domesticated, but they have those needs to want to connect with nature just like we do.
Yes.
So, but they want to do that with you. It makes them feel, like it just further instills in them that pride, that family unit thing.
Right. Exactly. And then my last list is, what do the animals want us to know? And I think that this is something I get asked very often. So I think this is very important because this isn't something that we ask our animals a lot. What do you want? people to know? What is it that's important to you? And the first thing that I felt, because I did this intuitively, I talked to our dogs. I did some random other dogs that I talked to, and cats too. They understand, but not everything. So be careful with the tone that you use and reserve it for serious times. So what I mean by this is I only use a certain tone with my dogs when it's serious, when I need them to stop doing something right now. It actually most of the time won't even come out of my mouth the right way until that moment has arisen. But I would never use that specific tone if it was something minor, because they're going to react to it immediately and stop and go, what am I doing? What's wrong? But even a minor aggressive tone with a dog that, maybe like, let's give an example here. You want to wash the water dish out because it's dirty, right? And the dog goes to drink out of it. And you're like, no, I haven't washed that yet. That's dirty water. They don't know what you're getting upset about. They have no idea. Right. So better in those kind of instances it's not going to hurt them, let them drink the water. But in other instances like this, to be calm and to, either let them finish what they're doing or go up and calmly just remove it.
Yeah, if you're always like yelling at them, they're not certain of what really is a serious situation and what isn't after a while. So like you keep doing that, and then let's say they come out in the backyard one day and there's a rattlesnake there, because they're so used to you screaming and yelling about everything, they're not necessarily going to take that as serious.
Exactly.
And then may potentially get injured,
Yeah, exactly. This one's kind of in there too. You were just saying, don't yell at us. We don't know what you're saying, and it just confuses things and makes it worse.
Yeah.
This I'll take their advice. I'll try on this next one is don't panic or overreact. It makes things worse for us. The other night Zuma got really sick, and it was the first time that I had this kind of experience with him where I was like, oh shit, he might have to go to the ER, and this is a 160-pound dog that is throwing up, and he was having trouble walking. And I started panicking, and I came and I woke you up. It was the middle of the night, and I was panicked, and you knew I was panicked. But I didn't know how to not be panicked in that instant, But I'm more panicked, like, around you. And then when I try, like, to go back out, I try and calm down. I try to not let him see the panic in me, although he senses it from me, So we have to try when things like that happen as pet owners to not react like that, because it makes things worse. When there's fireworks and we get upset about the fireworks, when there's loud noises and we're like, God damn it, why are they doing this in the neighborhood? Blah, blah. It makes it worse for them. They don't understand. So we have to learn to not overreact or panic, because then it helps them to not overreact or panic.
Right.
In a case of like fireworks and stuff, I've tried to just make it so that we don't react to them at all. Like we might look at each other and be like, oh shit, under our breath, but we don't react to them. Like, oh baby, it's okay. Come here, or lay down or whatever it is. Because then it kind of alerts them that there's something that they should be alerted to.
Right.
So you just kind of have to not panic, and that helps them. Something else is look at us as family. Unless it's in our best interest, always keep us. Okay, let me explain this, because this is something that I talk about in all the animal episodes. If you have an animal that you can't properly care for, please do not feel that you cannot rehome that animal because you can. Okay.
Yeah.
They don't want to be in a situation where they're by themselves. They don't want to live outside. Dogs are not solitary outdoor creatures. They want to be in a pack. Okay. So a situation like that where you could find a better situation would be, good for the dog. However, like I explained about my 2 labs, me moving into an apartment was not justification to get rid of my dogs. I found an apartment that took dogs and they lived with me. Were they miserable there? Nope. They got their walks every 4 hours. I took them out, and they were happy as happy could be, because they were with me. It didn't matter. And that's really important for us to remember in these kinds of situations, is these animals, whatever their situation is, even if it's a bad situation, this is all that they know. They don't know any different. So whatever situation you take them out of, whether it's bad or good, there is an adjustment period. But taking a dog out of a good situation and putting it in a shelter because, you know, you're afraid that the dog isn't going to take to an apartment, or, you know, the cat may not use the litter box all the time in the apartment. Those are not reasons to get rid of animals. They're family, and they really want us to know that and to feel that they are bonded to us.
Right.
I can't even imagine getting rid of these two. You know what I mean? Like,
not gonna happen.
No, like they're a part of us, you know? And something else is with wild animals. Wild animals are on a completely different spectrum and not really what we got into a lot in this episode. But we need to remember to respect wild animals and respect the wildlife, and to treat them as if they are wildlife, because something that we've been seeing a lot, like in the last few years in the news, is people like going and trying to be friends with the buffalo, or you know, taking selfies with crocodiles or whatever it may be. And these animals,
lions and bears and stuff, and they get killed. It's like, we're not talking about having a relationship with wild animals, but respecting them the same you would with your domesticated.
Absolutely.
Understanding them for what they are. And wild animals, I think that they're here to teach us a lot about the existence aspect. That we can coexist, different animals can coexist. There's predatory things going on. But that's just the world we live in. I'm sorry. You know?
Absolutely.
But we don't have to mimic that part. That we can learn from as well. But just the way that they can exist. And there not be a problem a lot of the time. Or most of the time.
We need to learn to coexist, and we need to learn what is a wild animal and what is not. There was something that happened here in Ventura County this last week. I couldn't read the article, but for whatever reason I opened the email even though it said neglected animals. But they found a bear in a cage in somebody's backyard. Why? Why do you need a bear? You don't need a bear.
No.
It's a wild animal. You know, take it to a sanctuary or have a sanctuary come get it. If, you know, it should not be in a cage in your backyard. No. That's just ridiculous. These are the types of things we need to learn to respect. Animals that are smuggled in, like birds that are smuggled in from South America. And, you know, luckily Australia, that's really hard to smuggle them in. But like our birds here that you go to a bird store and you buy that, like cockatoos and stuff like that, they're wild in Australia. And those birds are thousands of dollars to buy here. And that's just ridiculous. Nobody needs to own a bird that, you know, should be wild. They just, they don't. You don't steal birds out of the Amazon. And that's happened so much over the years that, you know, because they're worth so much money in the United States. It's really sad. But all of these things we need to, as a society, learn to respect with our wild animals. And this will also help really in turn with our global warming as well. If we can learn to respect the animals and, you know, this is their environment too, and we need to protect them, then we can also use that to protect our environment. And the animals, you know, in our environment.
They didn't screw it up.
No.
They've been here so much longer, and the world's been just fine. Until we came along and polluted it, and now we're affecting everybody's health. You
know, animals, these are, again, my favorite episodes because I could talk and talk and talk about animals for days. I really could. But I continue to learn from them in a way that I didn't expect to learn from them. And I have a lot of regrets from things with animals that I've had in the past, and I get a lot of clients that also tell me that they have regrets after animals have passed about things that happened with that pet. And one of the ways that I have learned to deal with these kind of regrets is realizing that everything that I faced with that particular animal was a part of my story and a part of the reason why they were here. They're here for spiritual lessons. They're here to teach us things. And a lot of times we can even see when an animal comes into our life, a lot of times will come into our life when we need it. When there's something going on and we need that animal. And then when the time comes and we don't need it anymore, then it goes on its way. I'll come back to Katniss again. When Hannah got Katniss, she was single and lived in an apartment, and it was just her, and Katniss was her her BFF, you know? And now Hannah lives in a different state, and she just recently moved in with her boyfriend and her dogs. And she even said, she's like, I feel like Katniss's job was done. She was my sidekick while I was single. And now she's like, you have a family now, you know, and I can move on. Right. And for whatever reason that she felt it was necessary to move on, but her lesson here for Hannah, or whatever purpose was done, is right. what we feel.
Well, I think they're here to learn too. I mean, they're a soul. They have lessons and things that they have to learn as well. They're here to teach us as also, but that's the beauty of why we get to interact with them.
I believe that when we make all of our soul contracts, like what we talked about last week, I do believe that we make these contracts with animals as well. That there is a reason, there are things that they are teaching us, you know. Zuma has been like the best animal communication teacher to me that I could think of. And so maybe he's here in my life because he can help me. He can teach me. I that's just my guess, maybe my intuitive feeling, you know, but they really are all here for a reason and to teach us something. And like you said, to learn as well. So their souls evolve as well. Like, I think even with an animal, you can almost feel like a young soul and an old soul. You know, like Sabbath is an old soul, I feel like. He's been around a lot of times. And Sabbath, like, I really feel like both of our dogs are reincarnations of other pets that we've had, you know. And I had gone to a animal communicator that specializes in, like, past lives of animals, because I thought that Sabbath was my yellow lab Tahoe. And she told me that actually Tahoe was a life lesson for my ex-husband. And so Tahoe won't be reincarnating to me. He'll be reincarnating back to my ex-husband, which I found very interesting. Yeah. I was starting to wonder, actually, if Sabbath is the reincarnation of my ex-husband's dad's dog. And the reason I say that is because that dog and I did not have a good relationship. It was really weird. I've never had that kind of a relationship with a dog. That we did not click. And I don't know why. And so I wonder sometimes if Sabbath is her and I'm getting a do-over. And so I give Sabbath a lot of special attention that I didn't give her, as kind of my way of being like, you know, I've learned this lesson or whatever. And so I'm hoping that I'm getting a redo with her. But that's a lesson. Yeah. It was a lesson for me that, you know, this dog didn't ask for the life that it was given. You know, it was kind of a destructive dog and kind of caused chaos in the house, and so that made me just kind of distant from her. I just didn't have a close relationship with her, and I regret that. So now I can do that differently, and I can say I'm never going to do that again. Right. So I learned a lesson, and that's why she came into my life, if that makes sense. Right. So there is a lot that we can learn from animals. A lot. We don't even realize this. We write them off as companions or dumb creatures that are just here to, you know, whatever, give us entertainment or whatever. But there's so much more than that. So much more. And if we just take a little bit of time with them to see that, it would change a lot in our world. For sure. For sure. Whew, I think I'll stop there. Starting to get emotional.
Don't get yourself all worked up.
No, my nose is getting stuffy. I love the animals so much, and I wish that they all had wonderful homes. And sometimes when I can't sleep at night, I lay in bed and worry about the ones that have bad homes and go, stop it. Yeah. Stop it. Like, I wish I told you once, if I could have any superpower, it would be that I could go up to a home and see if there's an animal or even a child there that's being abused and be able to get it out and give it a good place. That would be my superpower. Make sure that they all have wonderful homes. Right. I know that that's not possible. No. But I know that there's also a lot of other people that are out there like me that are advocates for the animals, and that helps a lot too.
It does, but the landscape of, you know, emotions in this world is what we learn from. Yeah. And we have to see suffering and pain to understand what goodness really is.
We do.
And vice versa. So it's a really bizarre concept, but it makes absolute sense when I think of it in a spiritual sense. When I think about moving on from this life and learning and going, wow, I got to learn this. Yeah. All this.
All of it.
And it's all relative. That's why we're all trapped together on this one ball. We can't get off.
Yep.
It's like we have to do this. We have to learn.
That's right. We have to learn.
They're definitely a tool to help us. And that right there we should be grateful for.
Yes.
And appreciative that there are other species besides ourselves that we can learn from in life, because let's face it, humans have done humans wrong for a long time. So there's a lot of us that have a lot of trust issues with humans.
Yes.
And animals can help that.
They absolutely
They can help you kind of re-bridge that gap that you may have with relationships. So
yep.
They're super important, for sure. Otherwise, they wouldn't be here.
Yep, absolutely. I want to give a weird shout out, but I feel like I need to one of our listeners, Patricia, because she is one of the biggest animal rescuers. Like, she goes and gets the horses that are going to be sent to the meat farms at an auction, and she gives these horses a home. Wow. All kinds of animals.
That's killer.
God, I wish I could do that. I really wish I could, but I don't have place for it. But that is so wonderful. Like, people that devote their lives to animals like that, it's a lot of work, man. Yeah. She's constantly worrying about these animals. It's like the other night was traumatizing enough for me, with Zuma, but she goes through that all the time. It's like, whoa. So I just wanted to give her a shout out for say thanks for helping the animals. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to everybody else that does that kind of work.
God, there was something I was going to say and I totally drawing a blank on it, but, I wish I could remember it, but it's escaping
Maybe it'll come back to you. Yeah. I hate it when that happens. That comes with old age.
Yes, it does, unfortunately.
Yeah. Lots of little fun memory issues. So anyways, I guess we'll stop rambling about animals, because I could go on and on and on and on.
But that's awesome. You're passionate, and that's what takes. There's got to be people in this world that want to fight for them. That's what I was going to say, is that, thank you for bringing it back to me, is that I was raised to look at animals the way we kind of mentioned earlier, that they're just animals and they're dumb and they can't communicate.
Yeah.
Where I learned that from, I'm not sure, because neither one of my parents really had a lot of animals.
Yeah.
I think it was just people that I knew, or my extended family,
society,
and friends and society, that I saw that the way they treated them. I'm so happy that I've kind of learned to open my mind and see these creatures for much more than what I used to as a little person.
Yeah.
Or a young person. I give them the same credit.
Yes.
I don't look at them as any different.
Yes.
Other than they just look different and they communicate different.
That was something that was really important to me. Like, when I was searching for, the right person to be with, was that they were compassionate with animals and understood this kind of thing. And you were compassionate with animals from the beginning, but that's something, this is completely, grown in you. You see it more now. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. I actually had dated somebody, before you, that we went to Santa Barbara one day, and there was a dog drinking out of a water fountain there. And I was like, oh, the doggy, just being normal me. And he was like, that is disgusting. Don't let the dog drink out. And we got in a huge fight over it. Huge. Went to the aquarium there, didn't talk to each other pretty much the whole time. Wow. And that really opened my eyes a lot to that relationship. Like, whoa. You really are passionate about the fact that was more disgusting than seeing a child drink out of there. Why?
But that's survival. If he was doing the same thing, he would do the same thing.
The dog wasn't putting its mouth on the thing. Right. Kids get their mouths closer, but it was a huge fight, and it's like, okay, that really, somebody that's not an animal person like that, for somebody that is, it just doesn't it doesn't mesh. So that was really important for me. And
I mean, I've always loved to hug, cuddle with them, and that kind of thing. But once you start to realize that there's a soul in there as well, that carries an energy, that has a conscience, and that has a memory, and all this stuff. Yeah. Yes, watching you kind of step into this new realm in your life showed me that, wow, so these things are on the other side just like we are, and they're able to communicate with you from the other side just like the humans that were here can. Yeah. So that was a big seller for me. Like, whoa, okay, so these aren't just little trinkets and toys living toys for us to just admire in our life, there's a much greater meaning. And then when I started to realize that I could communicate with them,
Yeah.
meaning I could show them pictures in my mind of things I want them to do,
Yeah.
and they'll either do it or I get a reaction out of a picture I'm showing them.
Yep.
Zuma will do that a lot when I'm trying to show him like how much that I love him. I'll show him pictures of us spooning,
Oh.
and he'll kind of out of nowhere just lift his head up and start staring at me. Like, what do you know?
Aw.
But he's just absorbing it.
Yeah.
You know, he's just realizing I'm telling him that I love him.
Yeah, and you bring up another good point too, is that you don't have to have the ability to hear them back to do this.
I can't hear him.
No. Like Zuma, if you want him to go to the bathroom, you walk him out into the yard and like I close my eyes and I show him squatting and peeing. I don't have to hear him back.
Right.
But that's all I do is I just focus on him. I close my eyes, I relax, I tell him, this is what I want you to do.
Yeah.
And they get it. They get it.
Yeah.
If we talk to them on the right tone, on the right level, they get it.
They're very smart.
They're very intelligent creatures. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, that was very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And this goes for everything, so
Yeah.
not just doggies, but kitties
Oh, yeah.
and bunnies and
Yeah.
whatever. So
I think we get talking about dogs most because that's what we have. And that's tends to be what I work with the most too. But I work with a lot of different animals and I love that. Pigs and birds and lizards. I like to work with snakes, believe it or not.
Yeah.
They're one of my favorites, and horses. So
that's cool.
yeah. So all of them. Yep.
All right, then. Well, that was successful. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
And before we say goodbye to our friends, did you want to share your information real quick?
Yes, you can find everything about me on my website at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. If you'd like to set up an appointment with me, just send me an email. That is beyondthebridge11@gmail.com. Or you can reach the show if you want to send us comments, suggestions, anything that
Questions
you may have.
for your merch.
Yeah, for merch. There
For
you
the
go.
merch.
For merch. Send the questions. Spiritual Joneses at
Slanging that
gmail.com.
merch.
Yep, we got a lot of it. Come get it.
Nice.
And you, sir.
Thank you. Yes. For my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Instagram and Facebook. And for the music, gypsybrown.com for the web, at gypsybrownmusic for Instagram, and at gypsybrownband for Facebook. Just a reminder, October 1st,
Yay.
Candy Club with the Tubes,
Very
6
good.
p.m. We got tickets, so check it out. PM for private or pickup, and eventbrite.com to purchase online.
Yay.
Cool.
Very good.
Well, we hope everybody got something out of this week.
Yep, that we do.
If you have some animals at home, love them.
Yep.
If you see some wild animals, love
Keep
them
your
from
distance.
afar.
Yeah, exactly. Respect them from afar.
Yeah. But we hope everybody has a great week.
That we do.
And until next week, peace and love.